house stood alone, squeezed in by trees. The yard was now just twisting branches and thick leaves. Inside lived a boy named Alex, 13, with a mop of brown hair and watchful eyes. Alex liked the quiet, his nose always in a book. He didn't mind the shadows or the whispering wind. Tonight felt different. Alex felt a shiver crawl down his spine. The house felt colder, the shadows deeper. Maybe it was because his dad was away on a business trip. Or maybe it was something else. The only sound was the ticking of the old grandfather clock. Each tick was a heavy thud, counting down to midnight. And then it happened. The first knock. Alex's dad, with calloused hands and a tired smile, had left in a hurry. His work took him to dusty corners and bustling cities. This time, the rush led to a mistake.
"Forgot your charger, Dad,"
Alex called out, watching his dad's truck disappear. His dad chuckled, waving a hand. He'd be back in a few days. No need to worry. Except, Alex did worry. He liked routine and being able to reach his dad. Now his phone battery blinked red. Low battery. No way to contact his dad. The house creaked around him, a symphony of settling wood and sighing wind. The silence was pressing, broken only by the thump-thump of his heart. It was a soft sound at first, a whisper against the front door. Alex almost dismissed it as the wind, but then it came again. 3 distinct raps. Tap, tap, tap. They echoed through the quiet house. Alex's head shot up. He listened, every sense alert. The knocking stopped, but the silence was heavier. He glanced at the clock. Midnight, his pulse quickened. Who would come at this hour? He crept closer to the door, each step hesitant.
"Don't open the door."
He peered through the peephole. The darkness outside pressed against the glass, impenetrable. Minutes ticked by, each one an eternity.
He remained by the door, holding his breath.
The silence stretched, broken only by the creaking of the old house and his frantic heartbeat. Then he heard it again. A shuffling sound, coming from outside, right by the door.
Alex's hand trembled as he reached for the doorknob. He wanted to be brave, like his dad. He told himself it was nothing, just his imagination. But the fear was a cold fist squeezing his insides.
Suddenly a loud thump on the floor above made him jump. He froze, his blood turning to ice. His dad wasn't home. There shouldn't be anyone upstairs. Panic surged through him. He thought he heard his dad's voice, faint and muffled, coming from upstairs. A chill ran down his spine. His dad couldn't be home. His eyes darted back to the door. The shuffling was gone. But now, something else chilled him to the bone. A soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingernails scraping against wood. He didn't know what compelled him. Maybe it was the sound of his dad's voice. He found himself slowly turning the doorknob. His heart pounded in his ears. As the door creaked open, a cold gust of wind swept inside, carrying the scent of damp earth and something metallic.
The first thing he saw was a hand, a man's hand, lying on the porch. It was pale and lifeless, the fingers twisted at an unnatural angle. A scream caught in his throat, but no sound came out. He couldn't tear his eyes away from the gruesome sight.
His father's face, contorted in a silent scream, stared back at him. His eyes were wide open, devoid of life. His mouth was sealed with duct tape. But the most horrifying detail was the way his father's head was attached, or rather reattached, to his body. It sat at an unnatural angle, held in place by duct tape and what looked like glue?
Alex stumbled back, his stomach churning. The world tilted on its axis. This couldn't be real. It was a nightmare. He wanted to scream, to run, but stood frozen.
Then, he noticed the note. It was clutched in his father's lifeless hand, stained with blood. With trembling fingers he pried it loose and read the message. 3 words that sent a new wave of terror crashing over him.
"He's next."
The note fluttered to the ground. Alex stood paralyzed by fear, the weight of those 3 words crushing him.
Two.